Hi, and welcome to another episode of Spotlight On. I'm Brendan Lowe with the Camden City School District. Today, we're joined by Kadeem Pratt, an alum of Camden High School and a student currently at Rutgers Camden. Kadeem was also recently named a McNair Scholar, which is a prestigious honor that we'll be talking about here today. Kadeem, thanks for joining us.
No problem being here. Thank you for having me as well.
Of course. So why don't we get started just by talking about the schools that you attended while you were a student from grades K to 12 while you were in Camden.
All right, as a native of Camden, all of my schooling happened here in the city of Camden. I was a student of John G. Whittier Elementary School, which has now become a family school. Middle school, my 6th grade to 8th grade year was spent at Cooper B. Hatch Middle School, which is also now a family school. High schooling, 9 through 12, Camden High School, where I graduated and proceeded to go into higher education.
Great. And can you tell now that you're in college, you have a major, you have a minor, you have plans to study after you graduate from college? Can you tell what about your current kind of interests and passions? What about your experience at those schools helped you develop those passions, whether it was certain classes or certain teachers, certain experiences? What helped you kind of grow the interest that you currently have today?
Yes, the person I am today, I have to attribute solely to the interactions amongst my teachers and peers in middle school, Cooper B. Hatch Middle School. I had a science teacher by the name of Missy Johnson. She actually helped blossom nurture the science inside of this kid. She introduced me to the study of life, to the study of the atmosphere itself, and I just became so intrigued with the vast knowledge that was out there that I can attain. And I just wanted to know it all. I just wanted to be a sponge and absorb it. And in a way, she kept me on the straightened path because I was a student that tend to go off when I lose interest in things. I would tend to go off track and go off into things that venture into things I had no business doing.
Sure. Maybe
late to class or just tardy and drawing the class when I should be studying. So what she did was she introduced me to Mr. Dawson, who was the head of our tech department. Working with Mr. Dawson, I actually began to serve on our yearbook committee. I actually was the head of the yearbook committee, put together our yearbook for my 8th grade class. So then I realized, like, wow, I actually have a passion for technology. I actually I like making things. I figured I had a creative side. So not only did Mr. Dawson teach me how to work Photoshop as a 6th grade student all 3 years, I actually I believe I became a kind of a pro at Photoshop. So yeah, he actually taught me how to actually reboot computers, how to disassemble and reassemble motherboards of computers. So it's like I was a middle school student, but clearly working my way on up to college and getting prepared. A little bit it was unbeknownst to me at the time, but now I see.
Yeah, and so it was the hands-on experience with technology that helped you get interested in computer science. What was it with science that helped you get so interested in the study of life and the environment? Was it also hands-on activities, or what about Miss Johnson helped spark your interest that continues to this day?
It was the complexity of it. It was more the idea of that there's so much knowledge that's unattainable, and at this time I was a kid. So I'm a very inquisitive person. That's just who I was by nature. So I always wanted to know more, and I found myself questioning a lot of things. And I realized that science in my opinion of science, it's a philosophy of question. And to be able to explore the world of science, you must be open to ask questions. You must be willing to seek, and that was who I was. That's my person. That's who I am now. I'm a person that asks a lot of questions and I seek. And I encourage question asks, and I encourage that feedback. That's how you grow. So science for me was not only a field of discipline that I choose to study. Science was a release for me to actually grow as a person and as an individual. So I mean, science kind of adopted me. Science was a parent in the story. It adopted me, helped me grow.
Understandable. Understandable. And did that continue through high school, or how did it sounds like you had very passionate interest. You had developed a very legitimate set of skills already by 8th grade. How did that transition into high school? Now you're on the other side of high school and college, but what was it like in that interim period during your time at Camden High?
All right. The thing about high school is that the skills stuck with me, but they didn't transfer very well with me into high school because I didn't have this attention that I had in middle school, where I had the ability to work hands-on or one-on-one with a lot of teachers. Because at high school, there tend to be more people and larger populations. All right. So and at Camden High School, of course, there are a lot of other things going on. where students aren't allowed to get, or did not. I'm not going to say aren't allowed, but they aren't permitted that one-on-one time that is very crucial because of extenuating circumstances, right? So I would say those skills really didn't transition with me well as far as in the science field. But I began to lean more towards my art side in high school. I began to explore more with my hands and become more creative. But as a high school student, I must say, I was not the role model high school student. I was not. If you want to get more technical, I would be a role model in the sense of, if you had a problem with your computer or a tech problem, you can come and see me. You needed some things drawn or created. Yeah, you can come and talk to me about it. It was just things that didn't catch my interest because I guess I would say I wasn't motivated and challenged as much as I was maybe in middle school.
Sure. And do you think that had an impact on what you did after you graduated from high school? You ended up going North Jersey to Essex County Community College.
Absolutely, yes. Because how negative it may sound about the lack of attention that I was able to get in high school, what it did in turn was it fueled self-motivation. So what I began to do was I didn't have people to motivate me anymore, so I began to motivate myself. So, which in turn made me I wanted to explore now because I'm so motivated. I needed to know what's in this world. I began to explore like, okay, I've been living in Jersey all my life and I have never been above New Brunswick. So I figured, hey, it's time for me to go farther. So I pushed the envelope and I found myself living in Newark, New Jersey, right? I became a student at Essex County and where I began to pursue my passion even more. I became an engineer. My father himself was also a construction worker as well, so I feel it was in my genes to work with my hands. So I began to study engineering at Essex County College. What kept me maybe was the environment. I learned a lot from interactions amongst different diverse groups of people from all over the country, all over the globe. Newark was like a melting pot for me. I was exposed to just so much. And I was a sponge again, absorbing it all. Until one day I realized like, hey, I need to go back to Camden.
And what prompted that realization?
I guess it was around the time where Rutgers was going through a thing with the merger between Rutgers and Rowan. The city of Camden, in my eyes, were like it was in turmoil. Crime that year it surpassed any record. It was crazy, and this is where my roots is, and this is where my family is. So here I am away getting an education, but back at home, it's a war at home. So I had to come to reality with myself, like maybe the impact that I'm making, that I want to make here, is the impact that I should be making home. And I told myself like, hey, I love Camden, but I see me never going back. But I have to go back because Camden doesn't need me, but I need Camden as well as in return I can help her and she can help me. So that's what actually brought me back to Camden. So
that's great.
I realized that Camden needs a leader. Camden has leaders, but Camden needs a young leader. Our youth, we need our youth to be more active. So I figured, hey, I'm young, I'm able, and I'm willing. So let me go back to Camden and be the change that I want to see.
Yeah. And so you started first at Camden County College, coming back down to South Jersey.
Yes.
And then ended up transferring from Camden County into Rutgers Camden, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct. That's correct. When I transitioned back from Essex County to Camden County College, I went to Camden County College for maybe 3 semesters.
Okay.
Right. Took on a few credits. Completed my majority requirements for my associate's degree.
Okay.
I realized that I'm one of those people that I need to be challenged. I need to be challenged greatly, and I started to lose that challenge at Camden County.
Yeah.
It was an awesome school, one of the greatest, I would say, one of the greatest community colleges in the state, I would personally say. It was an awesome experience. But I realized like I need more resources, I need access to more people, I need access to more things.
Yeah.
And Rutgers, why not? It's right in my backyard.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit more about what you get at Rutgers Camden, obviously in the city, but the level of interaction that most, when they're current students, have with Rutgers Camden, it's limited in a lot of instances. We have some North Camden schools that participate in an after-school program, but by and large, not too many kids make it onto campus and really have a full understanding of what the school is about. So can you talk about what you found at Rutgers Camden, whether you found more resources, whether you found more students, how many of them are from Camden? You also live on campus, so can you talk a little bit more about what your experience has been like as a Rutgers Camden student?
Yes, absolutely. For starters, talking with a colleague of mine, I actually found out that out of 6,000 students at Rutgers University, not even 10% are from the city of Camden.
Wow.
And that is something that's unacceptable on all scales. So personally, what I actually do, I work through the Civic Office of Civic Engagement with the Hill Family Center of College Access, right? And we work, and it's a nonprofit organization. We work with schools. Me personally, I work with East High School, Camden High School, I'm alma mater, Camden High. And what I do is I mediate as that bridge for college preparedness with seniors, juniors, as well, freshmen as well, sophomore, whoever is willing and open to receive our services, whoever wants our services, we give them to. You know, so that's part of the solution, how we plan to address this problem. We directly go into schools and get students ready. We help with the FAFSA application, all the correct steps, right? So that's one step. So I figure that not many people in the community of Camden are actually have this open relationship with Rutgers University, and it's right here in our backyard, right in the heart of our city. But one thing I must say about Rutgers University is that there's actually great dialogue between the community itself and the university. Good. You know, we do a lot in our community. We sponsor a lot of events that are open to the public to build this to begin this dialogue, to integrate the community with students, you know, and to bring students, prospective students into Camden, Rutgers Camden, right? So I would say what we're doing now in the transition that Rutgers Camden is going through now is we're seeing a new wave of Camden students being ushered in, different multiple backgrounds, different diversity, and that's one thing we're welcoming on Rutgers Camden campus is diversity, and that's one thing I kudos the campus for. It's a very diverse campus, very.
And you spoke earlier about academic challenges, and you feel like at certain points of your time in school you've been pushed by teachers, other times not so much. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of academic rigor at Rutgers Camden? Are you writing long papers? Are you in a lab? Are you doing a kind of out of the classroom experiences and research? What's it like?
All of the above. You gotta. It's the 4-year. Okay. To start by saying, Rutgers University is a research-based institution. Okay. Right. So you have to be prepared to write the long papers. So you're doing all. It's hands-on projects, hands-on experiments. You write long papers. You're having one-on-one interaction with professors. You know, you're getting out of class and in class experience. You're traveling. We're going abroad. We're doing a lot of things on campus. Yeah. So but I must say, in Rutgers, compared to many other learning institutions, writing is core. You must write. You must write. But writing is good though. We look at writing so many times in a negative light. You know, Rutgers is writing is very fundamental. Very fundamental. Stimulates you, relaxes you, and just overall, it's fulfilling. Fulfilling. So yeah. But that's one thing Rutgers have done. And not only that, it gave me great exposure into hands-on experiments, hands-on projects, and hands-on project-based learning. Cool. As far as, for example, I'm very into nonprofit organizations, and one thing Rutgers offered me was a course into how to actually launch my own nonprofit organization. The sources right here in the city where I can, you know, expand and grow.
And so let's talk a little bit about the recent honor that that you received, and congratulations
Thank you.
in person for it. Can you tell us first a little bit about what the McNair Scholarship is and what it means to be a McNair Scholar, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you found out about it, what it means you're going to do thereafter. But since different people might be aware of it, why don't we just start first with what is the program itself? Okay,
so the Robert E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program is a program formed by Congress in 1986 in honor of the astronaut, first African-American physics astronaut, Robert E. McNair, who passed away during the failing of the launch of the Challenger, which the history behind it, about 9 seconds after launch, it exploded into air. All passengers aboard were determined deceased. Right. So Congress decided to form this program in 1986 that was centered around misrepresented students, underrepresented students of minority background in particular, and to prepare them for higher education. Because Dr. McNair he was a PhD chemist, all right? So a part of the McNair program when Congress founded was to promote PhDs amongst or higher education after a bachelor's degree amongst minorities or unrepresented groups. So that's just a brief history of McNair, of how the program was formed. Yeah. Now, what it means to be a McNair Scholar, it means that you must be dedicated You must be able to withstand tough criticism. It's a very, very highly competitive course.
Yeah.
Out of 300 students, only 23 were accepted.
Oh.
3.3 GPA is mandatory. Anything below is unacceptable. You will be kicked out of the program. Yeah, it's very, very intensive. You must read. You must read a lot. A lot of reading is required. A little sleeping is required. So, yeah, but overall, it's an awesome program.
Yeah.
It's a great experience.
And so you enter the program while you're still an undergraduate student.
Yes.
You are, I think, a sophomore or a junior typically.
So, yeah.
And then you are committing to get a PhD, which means a bunch of years of study once you graduate
Yes.
from college. But it's not just that commitment. You're actually starting in it now as an undergraduate student with readings and meeting the other scholars. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Currently, what we have going on. What we have going on is we're currently conducting research. The research that we're conducting now is with a bunch of other scholars. I just so happen, me and my co-author of my research, we were the first 2 students from Camden to be accepted in a matter of somewhere around 10 years, actually, from that school.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So it's actually it's a big deal to because this is the program again that's based at Rutgers, New Brunswick. That usually students from that school tend to overpopulate. So for me and my research partner as well, Naima, to actually be accepted was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so, can you tell us in as much of terms that we can understand what kind of research you're doing? What are you looking into?
Okay, awesome. All right, the research that we're conducting is into lead and education reform. We want to understand the effects of lead on the body. Well, we understand that lead affects the body, but we want to understand to what extent is the lead affecting the citizens of Camden. Huh. There hasn't been much research, major research, in a matter of a decade or so in the city of Camden into lead research. There's been many tests conducted, and annual reports go out, but we actually don't know what's happening between the pollutants in the air, the soil, and our water. We actually don't know what's happening to our body. So what we plan on doing is we plan on conducting a study, me and my research partner, Naima. We plan on conducting a study in multiple counties in comparison with Camden itself to figure out the detrimental effects that it's having on the body, and in terms of creating solutions that can address a problem, such as maybe levying tax against companies that do industrial work throughout the city, to help contribute to this cleanup effort, because it's a problem. And what we see is, through many studies have shown that lead tends to affect the most vital stages of growth, which is between the ages of 2, 3, and 5 years old, even extending to 7 years of age. So it's like the older you get, the more prone your body become. But when you're between those critical ages, you're just absorbing and a sponge to everything. You receive knowledge, right? And we all understand that lead affects the frontal cortex of the brain. So this is the part of the brain that focuses on impulse, behavior, decision making. And when you have this heavy metal such as lead that basically erodes at the frontal cortex of the brain, you begin to see patterns, which many case studies show, of high violence, high dropout rates, just many other and also you have many other socioeconomic factors that's contributing, not only just lead, but we see that lead is playing as a major risk factor, but it's just not being recognized as it. So what our research is proposed to do is bring recognition and to have it acknowledged, like, hey, this is a major risk factor, and we should start paying attention to this now before it gets out of hand. We understand Camden is becoming more of a desert. We are having, more abandoned homes are being knocked down. So in terms, we're having more open lots. So as much as soil is polluted and contaminated, this kicks into the air during hot days in the summertime. And the way lead is intake, it can be intake through drinking, through air, through food. And 65% of lead intake happens through air. So we figure, hey, we're getting more abandoned houses. Yeah. And then not to only mention that, the overall infrastructure of Camden, New Jersey, right? Most houses in the city was built after the 1960s, before the 1960s and 40s as well, before the EPA passed regulation on lead paint. Okay. So a lot of houses now in the city are still, are still modeled with this contaminated paint that was outlawed by the federal government some time ago. So. Yeah, so we just our plan is to bring recognition to this with the assistance, I should say, with the great assistance of Rutgers University, of Camden City Public Schools, of our leaders at charge. So, in the city, most importantly, we need the residents behind this. We need the city of Camden behind this project in order to improve the quality of life overall.
So it sounds very compelling. It also sounds like you're very passionate about it.
Yes.
Can you tell us how you landed on this topic in particular? You have a lot of interests. So why study this issue with your partner at this point in time?
Okay, yes. Well, lead became a hot topic for me when I realized that I was trying to find many factors into why do we behave the way we behave. Could it be the things we eat? Could it be our diet? Could it be just our overall surroundings? Could it be just infrastructure itself? It was so many things, and I began to cipher through and cipher. I began to narrow it down and really start to understand that it's not so much as about infrastructure plays a part, but it's not so much as it doesn't play as much as a fact as the things that we eat, right? It doesn't play as much as a factor as the things we eat. So then I realized that okay, vision plays a part on behavior. Food also plays a part on behavior, but one thing that they all have in relationship is water, which is the essence of everything. Everything contains water. There is not, and this is where my science come in at. This is where my love in science, because I began to understand that nothing exists without the essence of life, without water. So, and then we are humans, 70%, we are composed of 70% of water. So I really like, most of the food we eat is prepared through water.
Right.
Most of the beverages we drink is composited with some form of water, if it isn't water itself.
Yeah.
So I realized, like, hey, all that is contributing to the problem. But the main factor that we should we should have our focal on right now is water. So let's see what's happening in the water, and then if we can see what's happening in the water, we can see how it's then affecting our local food supply, how it's then affecting the performance of our students, how it's then affecting the land that when we soiling our grass, and how those things are going into the air and how we are inhaling those things. So it's like water. It starts off at water. So that's like the root of everything. That's how lead became the primary factor. Because I realized that, hey, water is the root of everything. We need water.
Right, right. And so is this something, through the McNair Scholarship, you will be going to graduate school to get your PhD, is my understanding?
Yes,
Is this topic of study something that you hope to pursue in your graduate studies? I don't know if it's premature to start talking about what you might study down the road. It's still a few years away, but are you beginning to think about what areas you might want to be focusing on in particular and doing research in?
Yes. Well, I myself, Naima and I, we plan on taking this study as far as we can take it. So it doesn't just stop here. It will be. Hopefully, it can get published and it can use this as my thesis into my PhD program.
Yeah.
But I plan on studying the field of environmental science, and I can't say how this is the only. I'm pretty sure this won't be the only research I conduct throughout the city of Camden. It's plenty more to come. But to say what research that I'm planning on doing into my PhD, I cannot call it right now. I'm focusing on the lead and how far I can take this. So once I wrap up this phase of the project, I would then focus on more into what I would focus my PhD thesis on. Hopefully, it's another fact that I can green the city of Camden, So.
And can you talk a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish? They're typically researchers. I think they fall into two groups. One of the types of researchers, they just love to do research. They do a study, they figure out the findings, then they go do some more research and kind of leave the findings alone. Another group of researchers, they do the study, they find out the results, then they want to apply them and kind of get into taking it to the next step. Are you?
Yeah, that's more of
That's more your group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the researcher that loves research, and once I find my findings, I like to apply my solutions. I like to apply my findings and create solutions on how we can better address the problem, and how we can better accommodate the issue, or how we can subsidize the problem, or whatever the case may be, or whatever the research that I'm doing.
Sure.
For this research in particular, we're trying to find a solution into better treatment methods of how we can actually treat our water through the cleanup process without fluorinating our water. One thing we found, me and Naima and I, one thing we found to our research is that a lot of counties surrounding Camden don't have treated water. A lot of our water supplies aren't treated with chemicals such as silicon fluoride, which we know it's not a primary agent, but it's an agent used to treat our water. And in many counties, silicon fluoride is an agent used to treat water, which in turn bolsters the effects of lead in the body. So we're trying to find a solution until a better method of solution. We can a better cleaning solution to how we can clean our water. And one of the other solutions that we propose is, okay, before the water even gets to CCMUA, Camden Utilities, right? Before it even gets there, how about we just start cleaning the Delaware first, right? So the water is semi-clean before it gets there, and we don't have to use as many chemical agents. Because one thing about Camden water is our CCMU do a great job with treating the water for the city. They do a great job, you know, giving the people as much clean water as possible, you know, with the resources they have to work with. So one thing we figure out, hey, let's be less of a burden on these guys. Let's also think about biodiversity. It's a lot of species in the water. As a kid, I used to love fishing for striper down in the Delaware Bay. Now it's rare if you catch a striper in a week. You know, it's just too much. It's too many chemicals. It's too much, you know, garbage. Too many things that's in our water, in our river. You know, and so that's one solution that we can start with. You know, find the ecology, plant life that we can actually place into our bays and rivers. To start the detoxing process, you know, to oxygenate our water again. So that's one solution.
Absolutely. And just quickly, where you are now is on the precipice, it seems, of going on to get your PhD, which a whole lot of people, whether you're from Camden or not, don't end up getting across the whole country. So you're in a very enviable position at this point. Any lessons you've learned along the way, brief lessons that you can share with students who might be watching, students who might be at Hatch now and wondering what they're going to be doing when they're in your shoes?
Absolutely, absolutely. Stay determined, stay determined. Whatever you tell yourself, a lot of things I'm doing now are goals that I set for myself literally when I was in middle school, when I was going to transition into high school. These are things that I wanted to see change. So these are things that I told myself that I will change. You know, I didn't have a plan of how I was going to get there, but I knew I was going to get there, you know. So it's more of have faith, you know, have faith. We want to see a lot of our youth recognize it's a problem in Camden, and they want to see change. My advice, my golden advice that I would give to the youth coming up in our city of Camden is to be the change you want to see. Just to be that change, you know, you have to. It must start somewhere.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
And so it's certainly starting with you in no small part.
Yes.
Kadeem Pratt, thank you very much for joining us today on Spotlight On.
You're welcome.
If you have a suggestion of another alum who you'd like to see join us on Spotlight On, you can email us at communications@camden.k12.nj.us. Make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. You can also watch us, including this interview, on YouTube. For now, thanks very much for joining us, and have a good day.